Hello everyone. Welcome back to the another session. As you can see on the screen, psychoanalytic theory. How important this is. This theory helps us understand literature through the lens of the human mind, emotions, and the unconscious desire that we hold. And this theory was coined by none other than we all know who is the father of psychoanalytic theory and how it started, what was the origin, who are the associate writers, associate theorists, psychoanalysts. We will discuss everything in this video, so this is going to be extremely helpful. Do watch till end, and if you have any suggestions, queries, feel free to comment. Okay, let's start the class. But before starting the class, do subscribe the channel, share to everybody, and stay tuned. Let's start. So, psycho. So, when we heard the word psycho, it stands for soul or mind. Soul or mind that simply refers the instability of the mentality of a person. This word is derived from the Greek word psycho and stands for soul or mind and refers the instability of mentality or mental. You can simply understand the mental illness that a person holds, and psychoanalyst treat. So here, what is a psychoanalytic theory? Psychoanalytic theory explores how unconscious desire, dreams, and hidden fears influence both writers and their characters. This is a medical term, psychoanalyst, psychoanalytic. But in literature, why we study, I will tell you later. But before, let's talk about the history, how this term actually originated and it popularized after facing so many controversies. So, psychoanalytic is a theory that explores the unconscious desires in human and what are the dreams and the fears that every human has, and somehow this influence in literature the writers and the characters, and this is how we study psychoanalytic. We use psychoanalytic theory in literature to study about the character's mind and the what are the writer's interpretation, writer's emotion. So psychoanalytic theory it draws directly from Sigmund Freud's psychoanalysis, and later this theory was expanded by Jacques Lacan and Carl Jung. But they use this in the language and structuralism format. They interpreted Freud's ideas through language and structuralism. Remember, Sigmund Freud, when he used this theory, it was totally related to treat the mentality of a person. More, he talked about the dreams, the unconscious desires, the fears, the repressed. Remember the word repressed that we all have. Okay. So here this theory was founded by Sigmund Freud 1856 to 1939, the father of psychoanalysis. Freud's ideas were first about the human mind, dreams and unconscious desires. This was the first ideas that in psychoanalysis Sigmund Freud talked about them. Psychoanalytic criticism applies these ideas to literature, exploring how text reflects a human psychology. Okay, we study we use this theory to study about the character's mind, if they have performed something, why they have, and for which perspective writer has used. This is what and how, why we use this theory to analyze their mentality. So it is a human psychology. Okay, so it is a human psychology. Remember, psycho is related to psychology, related to treats the mentality of a patient, instability that our mind has for whatever reason. How this theory started, it is very important. I do not miss everyone. The early influence on Sigmund Freud we have. Sigmund Freud was exposed to hypnosis while studying hysteria. Hysteria is a type of disease when a person feels paralysis. It is a condition like of paralysis with neurologist Jean Martin Charcot. In the 1880s, Jean-Martin Charcot treated patients with hysteria using hypnosis. In late 18th century, they were they found some type of new disease when they all have found a lot of medicines regarding all the disease, but some there is a new disease hysteria when the human was suffering from this, facing the paralysis condition. So Jean Martin was the person who was treating, and Freud was analyzing him, he was observing him, he was treating using hypnosis. So this showed Freud that psychological problems could have a psychological cause, not just a physical one. That means we human do not have only the physical instability. We do not fall ill only physically. We do not fall ill physically only, but by observing this, he realized that a human can have a psychological issue also, and how this should be treated. After observing all this, he analyzed, he self-realized, and that is how the psychoanalysis literary theory came into being. The psychoanalytic theory originated after the analyzation of the observation by Sigmund Freud. After observing Jean-Martin Charcot, he observed his colleague Joseph Breuer, who treated Anna O by having her talk about traumatic memories which relieved her symptoms. She coined the term talking cure. Important this is talking cure. She was the patient who was treated by Joseph Breuer. In this, he allowed her to talk about his experience, his traumatic memories, and somehow he felt better. By talking freely, she released catharsis. You know, catharsis when we release our emotions, purgations. So this was the thing. Talking cure term was released. A talking cure term was coined by, you can say, Anna O, a patient treated by Joseph Breuer, who was the colleague of Simon Sigmund Freud. Okay. So this was the also observation. Initially, how psychoanalytic came into being, it was totally based on the observation of Sigmund Freud's in early stages before this theory came. Then, after analyzing and observing, he shifted to free association. What is free association? It is actually when using hypnosis theory, when you ask a person to lay down on couch, and there is a doctor who keep asking and keep talking, and the person who are suffering from disorder who talk freely. So, free association, Freud replaced hypnosis with free association, encouraging patients to speak their minds freely. There should not be any foundation restrictions, but allow the patient to talk freely, whatever they have, whatever they hold in their mind, their inner self. So, this became the central technique of psychoanalysis. So, this was the free association is very, very important, like a talking cure. Okay. One after another, how this theory is originated and related, you must realize. Then, after the analyzation and observation, major publications you will find in 1895, the work Studies on Hysteria with Breuer, who was colleague, and 1899, so the interpretation of dreams by Freud himself laid the foundation for his theory of the unconscious mind. Unconscious mind. You know, we hold conscious when we know everything, and we have unconscious mind, like whatever we do, we are not aware, and you can say the awareness of something and unawareness, unconsciousness. So how this theory later developed? Freud's self-analyzation. Now, after observing everything, Freud he self-analyzed that what is the cause of the mental instability of a person. It was not just an illness, according to Freud, I'm talking about, but the sexual desire of a person that creates in childhood, that is based and started throughout the childhood, according to Freud, and that caused later to the and that became the reason to psychological conflict in human mind. And that is how the Oedipus complex, you can see, remember the work you have, we have Hamlet, then we have Oedipus complex. Remember the example work you have Oedipus, which was written by Sophocles, Greek playwright Sophocles. He wrote the Oedipus, in which the Oedipus, how he killed his father. Unknowingly, he killed his father and married his mother. So this is what this theory tell us. But what Sigmund Freud realized, it was totally different of what other has said about the psychoanalysis. They were studying about the mental stability and the unconscious minds to relate to treat the patient. But when after observing all this, Freud's theory is totally changed, and that is why later it faced so many controversies, because according to the critics and the one who criticized him, they thought that Sigmund Freud talked more about sex. That this theory he has related more about sexual desire. So, what was the part? Psychoanalysis has faced criticism for lack of scientific rigor and overemphasis on sexuality. Okay, but its concept deeply influences psychology and Western culture. But later, how the time changes and whatever the situation arises, the illness arises in human's mind, psychoanalytic theory came, it originated, and the people need Sigmund Freud's theory to, yes, treat the people with the different perspective, not only their mind to talk, not only their mind by talking. Now let's see the Freud's model, the mind as a stage. He talked about. Freud opposed a three-party structure of the psyche. The first one, id, the seat of is instinctual drives. The seat of instinctual drives that relates the pleasure, principle, and desire. The id is entirely unconscious and has no grasp of a reality. Unconscious mind totally it depends on. We have he talked that human has three stages in mind. The first one you have id, then you have ego, and then you have a super ego. Id, this we are talking about the unconscious mind. Ego here maintains the balance between the id and the super ego. It is, this is what balance. He gave the example of eyes, that you see the upper mind of the people only and treat, but what is hidden inside the mind of the people you do not try to find out. So he went in depth to find out. Then ego is a rational mediator that try to maintain the balance between the id and the superego. So the ego's role is to mediate between the primal urges of the id and the moral constraints of the superego to satisfy its desire in a realistic and socially appropriate manner. Okay, and the superego is the moral consciousness, the moral compass that develops around age 4 or 5. This superego develops around the age of 4 or 5. It internalizes societal rules, morals, and standards. This work on the basis of what society's norms, rules, and regulations has what is the morality. It causes the feelings of guilt when a person acts against their conscience. Okay, so in literature, how all these three work? In literature, these dynamics manifest in conflict, symbolism, and characters motivation. Okay, so this thing you must remember, it's very important. Id, ego, and superego. You can remember the diagram. Okay, super ego. Then defense mechanism he later developed and gave concept. So many concepts there are, so you must get familiar about defense mechanism. What is defense mechanism in psychoanalysis? Defense mechanism when we to protect ourselves, to protect our identity. Okay, like you can simply understand in social media there are lot of many person, most of the people try to hide their real identity and change their name, change their identity. So defense mechanism in psychoanalysis work like this. So here the ego employs defense mechanism to protect itself from anxiety caused by the conflict between the id and the superego. Okay, and defense mechanism, you hold the repression that pushing uncomfortable thoughts out of conscious awareness, denial that believe what is true is actually false, and projection attributing uncomfortable feelings or impulses to others, and rationalization that creates false but believable justification for one's actions. This totally fits in digital age that we are all living in, how we protect ourselves. For example, you can here understand Hamlet's delays reflects repression, and Frankenstein, Hamlet by Shakespeare, delay that means when he delay his revenge, he do not take revenge from his uncle Claudius. He keep delaying. Why? Because of the repression. And in Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, it shows the return of repressed knowledge and the turn of the screw. It dramatizes unconscious desire and fear. So these are the example. These are the most common example you can remember. Then we have another after defense mechanism, it's Oedipus complex. Complex, before moving on, let's have the psychosexual stages that Sigmund Freud has talked about. Freud theorized that personality develops through a series of five psychosexual stages, each focused on a different erogenous zone. If a child's needs are not met during a particular stage, they may become fixated, potentially leading to a specific personality traits or neurotic behaviors in adulthood. So, whatever in adults we find, that supposed to, according to Sigmund Freud, he said that it developed throughout the ages of a child. And if in that particular stage of the child, if we do not provide in adult, when the person became adult, this became problematic. Somehow you will see the change in behavior of the adult. You will find a lot of different personality when we do not treat them, we do not provide them what they want. So here what are the stages in this he has talked about. Okay, so the first one has oral, the it is from the birth to first year. It focuses on the mouthful pleasure. Then another one we have anal, first to 3 years, phallic 3 to 6 years, latency 6 to puberty, and genital puberty to adulthood. Okay, these are the very very important things. That is why I'm providing the detailed class, so that you do not if you are not able to study the detail or you are not getting anything, at least by this channel you can have everything, and by watching these detailed videos you can provide you can prepare your own notes. Okay, do share to everybody. This thing you must remember, this is very very important if you are studying in depth. So here in Freud's Oedipus complex, according to Freud, it is a central that shows how repressed family desire influence both art and dream. So his book, The Interpretation of Dreams, forms the foundation for reading literary text as a dreams revealing latent meaning. So Freud's theory for that children experience desires toward one parent and rivalry with the other, often reflected in literature. In literature, just I gave you the example of the Sophocles work Oedipus Rex. Rivalry here, the same sex we are talking about, how a child develop same sex, that could be the father. And he develops the desire to one parent, that means towards his mother. Sexual desire he developed towards his mother, and rivalry, he by developing this feeling he somehow thought that his father is a rival. Okay, so this experience and this desire developed in a childhood, this is what he talked about and gave the concept of Oedipus. And the similarly we have another concept, that is Electra complex. You can take the example of Sylvia Plath, Electra complex. In this, a girl child developed the desire for his father, and similarly, you can say the same sex will become the rival. So this is the Electra complex. An example we have Sylvia Plath. Now let's move on. So in literature, Sigmund Freud has said that he believed that literature expresses repressed desire and conflicts of the author through the work. This is the very important line. He said that repressed desire and conflicts through the work author described. Then another technique after the Oedipus complex, we have therapeutic techniques. In this, you will find the free association we have talked about, then dream analysis, transference, and the counter transference. So, in free association, patients are encouraged to say whatever comes to mind without censorship to reveal repressed thoughts and feelings. Whatever you have in your mind, the repressed desire, repressed desire, whatever the things that you are not able to express in somebody else, in front of somebody else. You are not even express this thing to your friend, not only to somebody else, but to your bestie, to your best friend, you are not even able to talk about it. So in free association, you will allow to talk freely whatever you have in your mind that has been repressed. In today's world, we talked about the depression, stressed, and by this, the person dies. Why? Because they do not have the ability to forget their feelings, or the forget their emotions. If the person will release everything what they have been holding throughout the ages, throughout the time, somehow they will feel better. They won't talk, they won't think about dying. So repressed, you can say the in Hindi, what do you call? You have दबी हुई इच्छाएं, or there are a lot of things you cannot even talk about. Okay. Then in dream analysis, he said he believed dreams are a disguised way to fulfill repressed wishes. He analyzed both the manifested, remembered content and the latent, that is hidden meaning of dreams. Like we are talking about, or we are thinking about somebody, thinking about, and for some reason we are not able to fulfill that, not able to fulfill that. So how we will fulfill? We had a dream about that specific, that particular thing. So in dream we try to fulfill what we are actually dreaming, what we are actually thinking. So this is the another way, that what do you want, you somehow try to manifest, you try to remember, and in your dreams this thing fulfilled. Then transference. Transference, the patient projects feeling about a significant person from their past onto the analyst. Analyzing this pattern helps the patient understand and change their rational relational patterns. Okay. Then another one we have counterference. Counter transference, we have the emotional response of the psychoanalyst to the patient's transference. And in this, the analysis must remain aware of this to avoid it interfering with the therapy. Okay. So this is what the psychoanalytic from the origin till now. What are the important concepts? What what are the important concepts we must not forget? Major works by Sigmund Freud, we must remember the interpretation of dreams, very, very important. Three essays on the theory of sexuality, 1905, the year. Beyond the Pleasure Principle, 1920, and Civilization and its Discontents in 1913. Who was Sigmund Freud? Freud was an Australian neurologist and the founder of psychoanalysis, and he was later known as the father of psychoanalysis theory. Okay. He studied medicine at the University of Vienna, and his theories revolutionized psychology, literature, and art by exploring unconscious mind. Now let's move on to the next. Another important theorist we have Carl Jung, who was a Swiss psychiatrist and the founder of analytical psychology. Initially, he was a follower of Freud, you can say, student of Freud, but later he was not satisfied with the idea of a Sigmund Freud. But so that is why he diverged and shared his different views on the nature of unconscious. He believed that human psyche includes both personal and collective unconsciousness, and main ideas that he developed the idea of the collective unconsciousness. He introduced archetypes, including the universal symbols like the hero, mother, and the shadow. He focused on myth, religion, and the symbols in literature. Okay, major works you can remember by him: Psychological Types, 1921, Modern Man in Search of a Soul, 1933, and the archetypes in and the collective unconscious, 1959. Then another one we have Jacques Lacan and the Carl Jung for the psychoanalyst who later developed the idea of Sigmund Freud. Jacques Lacan was the one who developed this idea in the language, in the linguistic form, and used extensively, and they are very, very important for the exam. So where Freud looked at content, Lacan looked at structure. He famously said the unconscious is structured like a language. So for Lacan, desire is never fully fulfilled. It is formed in and through linguistic structures and the symbolic order. Okay. What are the concepts gave by him? Mirror stage, the infant's identification with its reflection, forming an illusory sense of wholeness. While in a mirror, the child is a infant child. How he is going to identify that he is the one? But when he grows, is able to identify while seeing him in a mirror. The real, the imaginary, and the symbolic, the three registers of human experience, and this is very important. The canine sense, that is misrecognition. The ego is a construct of misperceptions. Okay, these are the concept. And desire and the signifier. Desire moves endlessly from one signifier to another, never fully satisfied. So they are actually somehow right that desire of a human is never satisfied, never fulfilled. So in literary terms, according to Jacques Lacan, he said that we should see the characters not as selves, not as real selves, but as the constructions of language and desire. Example he gave in Hamlet, the prince's indecision stems not just from the repression, but from the being trapped within the symbolic order of the father's law and the languages. Why Hamlet was not able to take the instant revenge from his uncle Claudius. This is what he has given us the example. The main ideas by Laka he gave, he reinterpreted Freud through language and the linguistics. The unconscious is structured like a language, according to Jacques Lacan. The three orders he gave, symbolic, imaginary, and real, and he influenced on post-structuralist psychoanalysis, his influence. Okay. Major works you can remember, Eclipse, a selection 1966, and the four fundamental concepts of psychoanalysis 1973. Who was Jacques Lacan? Jacques Lacan was French psychoanalyst and psychiatrist known as the French Freud. He reinterpreted Freud's theories through linguistics and structuralism, and he focused on how language structures the unconscious mind, unconscious desire of a human through the language. Okay. Then another important we have Eric Erikson, who was a German American psychologist, student of Anna Freud, Sigmund Freud's daughter. Remember, he expanded psychoanalysis into social and developmental psychology, and he focused on identity and psychosocial growth across the lifespan. Okay, the main ideas were given by him. He extended Freud's theory to social and identity development, and also he proposed 8 stages of the psychosocial development. He focused on identity crisis and self formation in human growth. The major works you can remember, Childhood and Society 1950, Identity, Youth and Crisis 1968. Okay. Then another one we have Julia Kristeva, who was a Bulgarian French philosopher, linguist, psychoanalyst, and feminist thinker. Very important. She studied under Roland Barthes and influenced by Lacanian psychoanalysis. She integrated psychoanalysis with semiotics and feminism. The way Jacques Lacan studied psychoanalysis in the language structure form, she studies psychoanalysis with semiotics and the feminism structure. The main idea was given by her. She combined psychoanalysis, feminism, and semiotics, and the concept of objection. Very important. This is already a PYQs. There are already so many PYQs from this only theory you will find. The rejection of what is disturbing to identity you avoid. She developed ideas on language, motherhood, and subjectivity. And the major works you can remember, Revolution in Poetic Language 1974, Powers of Horror, an essay on objection 1980, and Desire in Language, a semiotic approach to literatures and art 1980. Okay. There is the most important thing in literature, how critics use this theory. So here this theory is used in different ways, in various ways. So the first one we have author focused. The author's life and repressed emotions reflected in text. Character focused text as case studies revealing unconscious drives of the character through the author or the author through the character. Then text focused, exploring how the text, language, imagery, and structure dramatized desire and lack. And reader focused, the reader's unconscious participation in meaning making. Okay, meaning making. So in short, you can simply understand character in the work in literature represents human psyche, ego, superego in action. The themes often reveal repressed desires, fears, or conflicts, and symbolism and imagery are interpreted as manifestation of the unconscious mind. So this is how the critics use this psychoanalytic theory to study the literature. Okay, so in simple, you can understand the psychoanalytic theory that was originated with Sigmund Freud in the late 19th to 20th century. How it connects with the literature? It connects literature and psychology, suggesting that literary text, like we have dreams, we have how we express the secret, how we express the unconscious desires of human and the anxieties, everything revealed through the author or the character. Okay, author or the character. And the critic use this theory to uncover the hidden meaning beneath the surface, beneath the task, beneath the work. So this is what the psychoanalytic theory in literature means. I hope you have got the point. Remember, everything is very, very important. Now, that what type of question you are going to face in your exam. So, who is considered the founder of psychoanalytic literary criticism and introduced the concepts of ego and superego? Correct answer. Option we have Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, Jacques Lacan, Eric Erikson. So, ego and superego are the concepts given by none other than Sigmund Freud. Okay, Sigmund Freud. Another question we have, match the following concepts with their respective psychoanalytic thinkers. The concept we have collective unconscious, objection, repressed desire, and the stages of psychosocial development. Collective unconscious. Options you have Julia Kristeva, Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, and Eric Erikson. Correct answer, everybody? So the correct answer of this question would be collective unconsciousness. We can take it to the Carl Jung. A2 we have here and here. Objection, you can take it to the Julia Kristeva. Repressed desire, we can take Sigmund Freud, and stages of social development, Eric Erikson. So A2, B first. B first. Option A would be the correct answer. Collective unconsciousness is by Carl Jung. The collective unconscious is a part of the unconscious mind shared by all humans, containing universal experience, memories, and patterns that inherited from our ancestors. Then abjection is by Julia Kristeva. Abjection is the process of rejecting or excluding what is disturbing or threatening to one's identity or social order. So you reject them. That then repressed a desire by Freud. Repression is the psychological process of pushing unwanted thoughts, memories, or desire into the unconscious mind because they are too painful or socially unacceptable. Sigmund Freud said that while if you are trying to get rid of the persons what they hold in their mind, so person should be conscious, they should be aware what they are holding. So that is why he bring the psychoanalytic theory. Okay. Then psychological stage by Erikson. Erikson expanded Freud's theory, focusing not only on inner drives but also on social and cultural influences in personality development. Okay. So these are the important things. Then another question we have, in Ernest Jones' Hamlet and Oedipus, 1949, the character Hamlet is interpreted psychoanalytically as option A, representing Marxist class struggle, acting out on Oedipus' complex with repressed desire for his mother, a symbol of cultural hegemony, or a projection of Lacanian real? Correct answer. In Ernest Jones' Hamlet and Oedipus, the work is by 1949. The character Hamlet is interpreted psychoanalytically. Which of these options will fit the answer? Correct answer of this question would be acting option B, acting out an Oedipus complex with repressed desire. So I told you that different literary theory provides a different framework, different lens to judge a work. So if you are judging the work by Shakespeare, the Hamlet, here the psychoanalytically judge the work Hamlet by thinking like this, that Hamlet hold the desire of his mother Gertrude, and that is why he's taking so much time to take the revenge from his uncle Claudius. This was the thinking. Okay. So option B is the correct answer. According to Freudian psychoanalysis, interprets Hamlet's hesitation to kill Claudius as a result of repressed Oedipal desires and unconscious conflict regarding Gertrude, his mother. Another question we have, which of the following is a correct psychoanalytic reading of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein? Option A, the monster represents collective social unconscious. Option B, Victor Frankenstein's creation is a projection of his own repressed desire. Option C, the novel critiques cultural hegemony. And option D, the plot illustrates the 8 stages of psycho-social development. Okay, correct answer? Answer of Correct answer of this question would be that which of the following is a correct psychoanalytic reading of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein would be option B. Victor Frankenstein's creation is a projection of his own repressed desire. So, in these frequent readings of Frankenstein sees the monster as a manifestation of Victor's unconscious fears, guilt, and the repressed impulses. Okay, so this is the correct answer. Now, another question that you can face. This is for the practice. You can know that which type of question you will face. In Henry James' The Turn of the Screw, psychoanalytic criticism interprets the ghost as a option A, real supernatural beings haunting the estate. Option B, manifestation of the governor's unconscious mind and repressed sexuality. Option C, symbols of Marxist ideology. Option D, representations of Jung's archetypes only. Correct answer. The Turn of the Screw in Henry James. According to him, psychoanalytic criticism interprets the ghost as. Correct answer of this question would be option B, manifestations of the governor's unconscious mind and the repressed sexuality. Freudian psychoanalysis reads the ghost as projections of governance, fears, desires, and the neuroses, making the story a study of psychological tension rather than supernatural events. Okay, so this is how literary theory uses used by theorists to judge, analyze the work, to find out the hidden motive, hidden desire, hidden secret of the character author. Okay, so there are the different theories. Whatever theory you will pick, the meaning will be changed. They will now judge the worker on the basis of that specific theories that they have selected. Okay. Remember everything. Who wrote The Language of the Self? It is by Jacques Lacan. There are so many questions you will find, everybody. Then archetypes such as hero and mother belong to Jungian psychology. Oedipus complex is discussed in which of Freud's works? So it is discussed in the interpretation of dreams. The interpretation of dreams you must not forget to prepare. Interpretation of dreams. Okay. Then you can simply remember the concept of collective unconscious. Unconscious, very, very important. It is by Carl Jung. The mirror stage is associated with Jacques Lacan. This is the PYQ we already have seen. And who applied psychoanalytic theory to literary characters like Hamlet? So it is Ernest Jones, the question that I just solved. Okay. So I hope you have liked the session on the psychoanalytic theory. Everybody, how do you like the session? Do comment. Feel free to give your suggestions so that I can do much better than this. Thank you so much for watching. Let's meet in the next class. Till then, do prepare and subscribe the channel. Thank you so much for joining. Do take care of yourself and bye bye.